What's going on, everybody? Are you still encouraged by the Montreal Canadiens? It's okay not to be. And that's why I'm just doing a quick little video today after that Habs Sens game last night, where the Sens beat the Habs for the 8th time in a row. And yeah, the Sens are still 8 points back of the Canadiens. That's how bad this start to the season went for them. But it doesn't matter anymore. I mean, even Shane Pinto coming back off his 41 game suspension, and he scores his first goal in his first game back against the Canadiens in Montreal. So yeah, I did find it very interesting that, and it was good to see Arbor Jack guy back. By the way, I didn't even realize Tanner Pearson was going to be returning until it was too late. I found out after we found out yesterday, basically, pretty much. At least I did anyway before the game, so didn't have a chance to talk about that when mentioning that Arbor Jack guy was coming back, and Arbor looked okay. There was a lot of missed chances by the Canadiens in this game. I mean, the goals they gave up weren't great. The first goal of the game, shorthanded, can't happen, right? It just can't happen. But other than that, Jake Allen didn't have a great game, but Montreal also missed chances. Caulfield had chances. Some other players had chances. Josh Anderson, once again, and now he's on the top line at practice this morning. So I know some of you guys aren't happy to hear that, but that's where the state of things are right now. Slavkovsky on the second line, actually, now. So, what do we expect for the rest of this season? Well, I'm kind of with my buddy Matt, aka Hockey Junkie. If you guys didn't see his video this morning already, if you did, you know what I'm talking about, right? Bob McKenzie's mid-season draft rankings have been released. He'll actually be appearing on my buddy Shane's podcast called the Recruits Draftcast. So be sure to check that out. Be sure to check that out because Bob's going to talk probably in detail about who the Montreal Canadiens should target in the draft should they potentially get a top 10 draft pick. And by the way, things are going right now. The chances for the Canadiens to get a top 10 pick are looking better and better by every game. So what do we want for the rest of the season? Well, a part of me thought not too long ago, should the Canadiens just like tank or get off the pot? You know what I'm saying? Right? Tanking is not an option. Tanking is not something that players are ever going to do, as we know. It happens naturally, aka the Chicago Blackhawks and the San Jose Sharks. They're doing it very naturally. They're still trying, though. They're still trying to compete every night. They just don't expect the results necessarily, right? And neither should we at this point. It's still basically year 2 of the rebuild. I mean, Ken Hughes and Jeff Gorton really together started this whole thing with Marty St. Louis in February of 2022. It's only been 2 years since they've all been here. So if you look at it that way, what did we really expect this season? Well, if Kirby Dach and Alex Newhook were healthy, we expected to be more competitive for a wild card spot. I'd say we'd be within like 2 to 3 to 4 points out of a wild card spot. Now we're 8 points out. There's 35 games left in the season. Welcoming Patrick Waugh and the Islanders Thursday to the Bell Center. Sounds weird still to say it, but they are. And Patrick's going to be coming in with his team to compete. And they're going to be coming in to take 2 points from the Canadiens. That's what they're going to do. The Canadiens are in disarray. They don't even have 4 centers right now. Yes, Ullinen is their 4th-line center at practice right now. So what do we expect the rest of the way? Well, I can tell you that I don't know, because I'm looking at Bob McKenzie's list, and honestly, like, it would be great to get we need a forward prospect. And my gosh, if they take a defenseman again this year, we're all going to lose it. But I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. 2 defensemen are projected to go in the top 3, at least as of right now. So for wingers for the draft this year, Celebrini's going first. Montreal's not going to get the first overall pick unless some crazy luck happens. Cole Yzerman, Caden Lindstrom. Yzerman's a winger, and Lindstrom is a 6'3" center that is going to go in the top 5 for sure. I believe they're just hard to come by, and centers are not the top pick or top priority like they are this year or like they were last draft, right? So to me, I mean, I would like to get a top 10 draft pick, absolutely. That still means that player that we pick for is not going to be playing with the Canadiens for at least 2 to 3 years, unless they're really, really good. Maybe Lindstrom or Yzerman could be ready sooner than that, right? Which would be fine. So I'm more than okay with. I just don't know what this season means now. Like, what is the goal of this season? Development. We want to see the young players develop. Okay, that's fine. We've seen Slavkovsky take a step overall, regardless of whether you liked his game the last couple of games or not. And other players like Jaden Struble also playing very well. So we could talk about player development, and that's the goal of this season, and it has been to a certain extent. But now what? Now we have to focus on, what do we want as fans for the rest of this season? Well, I don't think the Canadiens are going to stop competing, but the way that they've been showing lately, it doesn't show to me like they have a ton of victories coming their way. Even if they get Alex Newhook back, I don't think that's going to make a huge difference, really, if he comes back in the next month or so. The Canadiens have the All-Star break coming up. It's a good long break. It's like, what, 7 to 10 days where the Canadiens are going to have no games to play? So what do they do during that time? Well, they're going to have to maximize their assets. Right now, for me, it's all about the draft and, first of all, the trade deadline and seeing where the Canadiens are at come March, seeing if a team makes an offer for Sean Monahan sooner than March, and then we can actually have a good deal in place to talk about and, another building block in place to progress the rebuild properly. But at this point, I don't think there's anything wrong with looking ahead to the trade deadline, to the draft. At this point, 35 games left in the season. The Canadiens aren't making the playoffs, and I just don't see the purpose of not them trying to win. I mean, I know why they're trying to win. They're competitive hockey players that want to win every night. You play hockey because you play to win. That's why you play. We know that that's what the Canadiens players are going to do. But in terms of us as fans, how to handle every game this season, I mean, so much disappointment just from last night's game alone, and of course the Boston game. We know that this is their third loss in a row, right? So how do we take these games coming at us at this point? Well, I think fans are starting to get on board slowly but surely with getting a top 10 draft pick, because I said not that long ago, based on the way the Canadiens are playing, that we weren't getting a top 10 pick. That narrative's changing very fast. So I think that them getting a top 10 pick can only help them. It won't hinder them. So I'm not going to be upset if they keep losing. That's what I'm going to say. It's still in the rebuild, so you need to have 3 good drafts, ideally, right? Slavkovsky, Reinbacher, hoping he works out, obviously, and I do still have a lot of hope that he will. But getting another forward in the top 10 could really help things ultimately long term. So that in 2-3 years from now, ideally in 2026 is when I said I hope to make the playoffs again. That's when I hope that we get back in. I don't expect us to make it next year. It's too soon. I don't see it yet. Our players are still too young. They're still developing. We still don't have that top 6, forward that we're still clamoring for. And by the way, I'm going to be releasing a clip about Shane Gaumont and myself talking about the Habs possibly going after Capo Caco for the New York Rangers, another Kent Hughes, Kirby Dach, Alex Newhook, possible trade in the offseason. A player like him, maybe somebody like Alex Turcotte. There's a couple options, but we really focused in on Capo Caco as a possibility. So we'll see. I'm going to release that clip to you guys. So I don't have much else to add to this video today, guys, other than I want to say that I'm okay with them just letting the season go. Let it go. I've never even seen Frozen. Anyway, I think we can let this season go as fans and just hope that we get another player that will help us in the rebuild, hopefully a forward. A lot of people really want Caden Lindstrom. I have to do my research on these players, so I will dive into these players as we get more losses piling up here. I will dive into the top 10 list that Bob McKenzie made because Bob's such an accurate source every single season. We love him for that. And after we hear him talk, he doesn't make a lot of podcast appearances, so he's going to be talking to Shane and Grant on the Recruits Draftcast, the Sick podcast, and we'll see what he has to say there about who the Canadiens could target should they pick in the top 10 this coming draft. I think we have to support them picking in the top 10. I'm on board with it, I think. I want to see them play good games. They're going to win good games, and hopefully guys have good games that we can talk about some wins, but ultimately we want to see them pick high as possible. And then after this year, no more tanking, no more draft. We want to see them compete for a wild card spot and then a regular playoff spot from here on out after that. So that's where I'm at. I'm good with letting this season go. Let's pick in the top 10. Let's acquire more assets at the trade deadline and accelerate the rebuild this summer with another trade. And next season, with a healthy squad, let's compete for a wild card spot. That's where I'm at. Let me know where you're at. Comment down below. Thanks, guys, and we'll talk to you real soon.